Let's talk the Double Jeopardy Clause. All right, the Fifth Amendment, Double Jeopardy Clause, protects individuals being tried or punished twice for the same offense. It prevents the state from using its resources repeatedly attempt to convict someone, which could cause anxiety and insecurity. The clause also protects the finality of judgments. Here's what the Double Jeopardy Clause protects against. Second, prosecution after acquittal, being tried again for the same offense after being found not guilty. Second, prosecution after conviction, being tried again for the same offense after being convicted by trial or plea. Multiple punishments. They get a lot of people on this. Receiving multiple punishments for the same offense. However, there are limits and exceptions. For example, offendant was never in legal jeopardy. They can be prosecuted again. Jeopardy usually attaches when a jury is sworn in and a judge begins hearing evidence in a bench trial. Double jeopardy doesn't apply to preliminary hearings or conditional guilty pleas. All right, I went to prison in 1979 for a crime I didn't commit. And the police knew it, but out of over 100 witnesses, 6 of them said it was me, and everybody else said it was somebody else. So that was so they wanted me to confess. They said if I just sign a plea agreement, they'll only charge me for one charge. And I asked for a lawyer. They didn't like that, beat me up a little bit and told me they could charge me for more charges. And it went from one charge to two charges. Then the state's attorney came in and they were a little upset. I didn't take the plea deal. That was the attorney they gave me, the assistant state's attorney. And, which was totally illegal. They know they can't talk to me outside the presence of an attorney, and they did anyways, and so did the police. But when does anybody ever care about the law? It's supposed to be maintaining the law. But either way, all in all, I shouldn't have took a bench trial against my better judgment, and I did. The judge didn't want witnesses. They didn't want the police testifying. Because by the time they took me to trial, there was like 16 or 18 charges. But see, the state's attorney kept doing that to convince me to take the gift, the deal. They offered me a deal in the very beginning, and I didn't take it. So this was basically just legal harassment, threats, and intimidation. And so the more I fought it, the more charges they threw on. Eventually, in the appeal, it was knocked down to 2 charges, and the sentence, it was a big sentence. It was cut eventually down to 6 years. I served 2 years and 10 months. And it was because receiving multiple punishments for the same offense. They didn't want to hear about it in court. I complained to the attorney. I already knew that. I was already studying law in high school, getting my hands on whatever I could. So I already knew what the Double Jeopardy Clause was. But state's attorneys and the public defender will go along, even if you have hired attorney. If they're not even mentioning this, then, and they're supposed to. Okay, somebody asked me about the Double Jeopardy Clause and what I meant about that and how do you violate it. So I thought I did a video on this before, but I'm not sure. So remember when they violate the Double Jeopardy Clause, that's grounds to have your case dismissed because this is your constitutional right. Remember, your birthright as a United States citizen, and this is part of your trust fund and somebody's taking it from you. That's illegal. That's violating the oath. Okay, that's a conspiracy against rights under the color of law. That's deprivation of rights by each party involved, and considering that nobody reported misconduct because this is misconduct. Your lawyer didn't cite the prosecutor for violating the Double Jeopardy Clause, the judge didn't, everybody just went along with it. So that creates the conspiracy against rights under the color of law. And not to mention, they violated this person's right to a quick and speedy trial. There are limitations to that. You see, it doesn't start when you ask for it. It starts from the time of arrest or any time the paperwork is filed. So from the point of that being filed, you're required to go to trial within, let's say, 90 days. Wherever you're at, just look it up, quick and speedy trial, and it'll tell you the limitations that are set forth on that. So if you don't go to trial within a certain amount of time, then the case gets dropped. Your constitutional birthright is being violated. And I did a video, I know, on that. And this judge threw out a case against these two guys that were shooting at another guy. They were chasing him out of the neighborhood, but he was just delivering packages for UPS, I think. And he didn't have a company vehicle, he had a rental, but the sign was on there, magnet sign or something. And he took off, and they were shooting at him. And by the time the state's attorney brought the case to court, the judge threw it out for violating the quick and speedy trial clause. Okay? So, but that rarely happens. So those people must have paid some big money for somebody to bring that up, or, just like a probable cause hearing. You won't get that. You got to demand it. I've only seen one judge on the internet offer that, and he insists every time on a probable cause hearing. Why is that so rare when that's the law? That's the law. I nearly got locked up a few times going to court with people trying to get that probable cause hearing, and judges getting upset with me, citing me for contempt of court when I hadn't said a word, got yelled at for sitting in court waiting to find the outcome of a case. And the judge gave the kid a probable cause hearing. They put him last on the docket, so it came that he was the only one in the courtroom that was to go before the judge. The judge, the state's attorney, or the state's attorney just laughed, didn't say nothing. The public defender was upset with this kid for asking for a probable cause hearing, and then he wound up demanding it. So, okay, I'll talk to the judge. The judge was mad, wanted to know what I was doing in there. I say, hey, I'm just watching. I'm a spectator. Yelled at me, and the kid started mumbling a couple of things, and he didn't know he was mentioning the rule of professional conduct. And the judge said, I know where this is going. This is going to trial. We're sentenced to 26 in California. So there was no actual probable cause hearing. It was just the judge complaining that he asked for one. And so they sent it off to trial, and the public defender spent almost a year trying to convince this kid to take the deal, take the gift, take the plea, because it'll piss off the judge if you don't. And the state's attorney sat back and watched this. Now that was in its entirety ineffective assistance of counsel on the public defender's behalf. And reporting misconduct is mandatory in both the rule of professional conduct and the code of judicial conduct, and not a lawyer or judge cited each other or themselves. Reporting of misconduct is reporting misconduct on everybody in that courtroom, including themselves. And quite literally, when you read it, you'll see that the public defender is legally responsible for citing the judge and the state's attorney for misconduct, for failure to report misconduct, and that misconduct was he himself violating the rules of professional conduct. But that's the law. I didn't write it. Okay, I'm just telling you about it. Okay, but somebody asked me about the Double Jeopardy Clause. And they wanted me, I guess, to be a little more specific. And I like to encourage people to open their mind by opening their eyes and exploring the internet. If you want to know what goes on in my head, take a walk through the internet. I like the law, and I think all laws matter. Legally, they do, but it's just there's a whole lot of laws I show you. Everything I show you, nobody's enforcing. Okay. So, anyways, they kept throwing on cases and cases, and I think it was originally 20, and then there was a time cut for 10. And, I got a few threats. I was young. So, I thought that I was going to wind up spending the rest of my life in there, considering the fact of what I had to put up with. But either way, that didn't keep me out of the library, the law library. Actually, I was filing paperwork from there, and I couldn't get in the building no more. I used to go to the art room. They wouldn't let me in there. They wouldn't let me in the library, but there was like a little section where they had some law books, and a lot of the information I needed was in there. Just that the information I was looking, nobody else was thinking of using. And that was the legal obligations of all lawyers and judges in the court of law. And those are the laws within a court of law, the rules of professional conduct, and the code of judicial conduct. Okay, so they're the ones that actually should be telling you this. But actually, since you don't know, this isn't going to happen. A lot of you people out there, I talk to a lot of people in criminal court, and they don't know what the hell is going on. Somebody got charged with multiple crimes for wanting to know what's going on. You got a warrant, and, just so many things that didn't happen that were supposed to happen. And for just questioning what was going on, in the arrest and in the courts, and not taking the gift. I really hate that. So here's the deal. You take this plea, you take this cop out, and we won't charge you with more crimes and give you more time. And if you don't take a bench trial, the judge will get mad and give you more time if you lose in a jury trial. A lot of lawyers say that, but that's preferential treatment, and that's just entirely in violation of the code of judicial conduct, and they're not legally able to say that. Lying to you, giving you disinformation, any lawyer giving you any disinformation, that's illegal. But you wouldn't know that until you read the rules of professional conduct. It's in the preamble. There's a lot of things they do that they shouldn't be doing simply because you don't know. Alright, so I'm doing my best to give you the reasonable knowledge. Let me reiterate that. I'm doing my best to give you the legal knowledge to make an informed decision. Give informed consent, because informed consent is required before anything can proceed in a court of law. But as you can see, if you watched all my videos, you lack informed consent. They know it. You just don't know it. And I'm trying to get you there. All right. Because, listen, nobody taught me this. I always felt the need to know. Somebody says you don't need to know. I felt I need to know. And I feel you need to know. I forgot who it was. Somebody commented on my YouTube channel about the Double Jeopardy Clause. So, but, that's what I look for, questions people ask, and I do my best to give an answer. Alright, nothing but love for you. May your Creator always rain blessings. Good night, peace be with you.